Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Frontiers of Knowledge. Today I plan to discuss with you something that should be of extreme concern to you. As the health of yourself, your family, your dear and dear ones, and your children is at stake. The food that we buy supposed to be very convenient food and extremely hygienic, having been manufactured in sterilized laboratories and the factories, is unfortunately a ticking time bomb. Social media might be awash with glossy snaps of salads, smoothie bowls, and virtuous dishes. But these photos are not exactly what they reflect. 27 studies have been done of the foods all over, especially of those foods with which we fill our baskets under the presumption that they are good foods and they are harmful. As there are 7 deadly sins, there are 7 dangerous ingredients hiding in the processed foods and even so-called healthy foods are in fact full of danger to you, your family, and your dear and near ones. The most important of them, which is first of all, is palm oil. Highly processed foods like crisps and soft drinks are not good for us. We all of us know it. But are they healthy because what they are? No, they are healthy because of the ingredients that we have. The most processed foods, 97% of all foods in the food aisles in the grocery stores, have palm oil as a major ingredient. It's the cheapest oil in the world, and manufacturers would go in for the cheapest one to increase their profitability. Now, this oil has very high quantity, a very high level of bad saturated fats, which can put our complete body metabolism on the pause. And the result is obesity, high blood pressure, cardiac troubles, and cardiovascular diseases. And yet, we gain them without any compunction. I'm going from a low level to the higher level as far as the danger content is concerned. The second is the artificial colors. Artificial colors are not good. Particularly, 6 artificial colors were banned by FDA way back in 2008. Why? They give rise to APHD, the disease which is afflicting most of the North American children, hyperactivity in the children. And since 2008 it has been done. But do you think that the food manufacturers have taken any notion? No. In Europe and in England, artificial colors have been replaced by natural substitutes. Not in Asia, not in Africa, and not in North America. Because they are recommended to be banned, they are not banned. And as a matter of fact, some medicines of the children also have artificial coloring. And that is something bad. Then, if fat is there, sugar is bad. But if sugar is bad, you have a sweet tooth. So what do? Take artificial sweeteners. And most commonly used artificial sweeteners used to be saccharine, but that had better aftertaste. Then came in aspartame. At one time, it was the buzzword for slimming. And what do? The artificial sweeteners. Heart disease and obesity, the same as the palm oil does. So, Canadian Medical Association published an article last year that these artificial sweeteners, which are used practically every day, high and low and fat-free, sugar-free, they are all aspartame, and they lead to obesity, weight gain, heart disease, diabetes, and high blood pressure. Even Harvard School found that aspartame blocks an enzyme in the gut that prevents obesity, diabetes, and one thing more, it increases your appetite. And since it increases your appetite, it leads to binge eating, more of eating, and more obesity. Then comes a bigger villain. Very tasty, not by itself, but it enhances the flavor of any food you add to that. Monosodium glutamate, MSG. Originally, it was used in the Chinese cuisine, then East Asian cuisine, and now it's used all over. Any takeaway you have, anywhere, has MSG in that. And most of the people think that it's not bad. This is a substance which causes severe headaches and migraines. Are you aware that the percentage of the migraine in the last 3 years have increased by 47.6%? And that is primarily because of the takeaway food that has MSG, East Asian food, whether it's Thai or whether it is Chinese. And because it enhances the flavor of any food, I have seen that there's some Indian, South Asian, Pakistani, Indian, Sri Lankan, they have also taken to adding sodium glutamate in their food. Purpose is to enhance the flavor, but it does cause you migraine. That's up to you to decide. Then comes another thing. Who doesn't love a chicken nugget and chip? And do you know why you love it? Because it has nitrate in that. These nitrates combine with amino acids and form chemical compounds called nitrosamines. And these nitrosamines are carcinogenic. Now, why these are added? There are two reasons. A, they prolong the life of meat or any processed food. They cause cancer, they cause heart disease, they cause diabetes, they cause obesity, and sometimes migraine. Are you aware that all meat in the freezer section of your grocery stores has nitrates? Because they want it to the shelf life and ensure that the flavor is not lost. So add nitrate. It might lead to cancer and heart disease. It might lead to diabetes and obesity, but it's there. All processed food, like whether it's salami or kabosh All feast food meat has this, and in a sizable quantity. As a matter of fact, it's always preferable to buy fresh meat, even though it's more expensive, than pick up a meat in the freezer section. The freezer section meat would definitely have nitrates, and that is for you to decide. What do you prefer? And the sixth one is high fructose corn syrup. These again lead to excess weight because it boosts, it increases fat storing hormones in the body. And pick up anything, you will find HFCS written on that. High fructose corn syrup. So much so that some people have started using corn syrup in place of maple syrup because it's much cheaper. Betty Crocker products, for example, have HFCS. And all these biscuits and cookies that you get in the market would have high fructose corn syrup. And as I said, they increase the fat storing hormones in the body, so you can eat more and more and more. And there's another quality of nitrates which I forgot to mention, that they do not feel fully satisfied ever. You know, one thing you might have noticed, that when you take a restaurant food or a processed food, you might take a plenty and still you don't feel satisfied the way you would be when you take a home cooked food. This is because the nitrates and BHT, which I'm coming to next, they help suppress that brain sensor which regulates appetite and hunger. Since it's suppressed, it does not set the signals that you have fulfilled your need of the day, and you keep on eating more. So it's tastier, and the brain is not sending a signal that you're satisfied. So naturally it leads to gastrointestinal troubles, it leads to diabetes, obesity, and cardiovascular diseases. And now, as I mentioned it earlier, this is the last one, butyl hydroxylene, BHT. It's a preservative added so that the food does not go rancid too quickly. But again, it's what the nitrates do. It sends, or rather blocks the signals that your brain are sending to tell you that you are full, you are no longer hungry, and you should stop eating. Since the signals are not working, you keep on eating, and keep on gaining weight, and then keep on getting diseased gastrointestinal system, diseased gut system, obesity, diabetes, heart attacks, and even cancer. Now the choice is before you. Whether you want to continue committing these 7 deadly sins of food, or whether you want to come across or start assuming a lifestyle that may not be up to the standards of the so-called civilized society, because processed food is supposed to be better, which it is not. Is a home-cooked food which is better, useful, healthy. As a matter of fact, it's no choice. The so-called convenience foods, the so-called processed foods are a storehouse of entry to fatal diseases. diseases that debilitate you. And that's why, have you noticed that as soon as the South Asians or Africans come to North America or to Europe, their dependence on the fresh food decreases. A, because the convenience foods are easier and because they're cheaper. And the result is all these diseases that are increasing every year. Have you heard that diabetes is the largest killer? High blood pressure, migraine, heart attack. Why? This is because of the dependence on the processed foods. And amazing, the desi paneer, the paneer cottage cheese here, and paneer, what we call in India and Pakistan, are much more healthier than all the processed cheeses. But then we start salivating at the thought of the Swiss cheese, and whether it's Havarti or whether it's cheddar cheese. And as a matter of fact, while the paneer or the cottage cheese are the healthy choices, we don't do that. Simply because the addition of these highly harmful ingredients makes our palate tickle and shift the use from useful to unuseful, from healthy to unhealthy. How long will we continue to be idiots? Let's grow up and not play with our lives and the lives of our children. Thank you.